There is $1,000 sitting in your checking account right now. Maybe it's been there for 2 weeks, maybe longer. You know you should do something with it. Everyone has an opinion about what that something should be. Your coworker says crypto, your dad says real estate, your bank's app keeps pushing a savings account with a green check mark and the word SMART in the product name. And somewhere in the middle of all that noise, the $1,000 just sits there. Here's what nobody actually shows you. That $1,000 doesn't have one future. It has 7. And depending on which container you drop it into, the difference between the best outcome and the worst outcome, measured 30 years from now, is roughly $1.1 million. Same person, same $1,000, same month. 7 completely different financial lives. My name is Nick, and I've spent way too much time running the actual numbers on what money does depending on where you put it, because the financial industry has a strong incentive to make this comparison confusing and a stronger incentive to steer you toward the options that are best for them. If you've ever had money sitting in an account and genuinely had no idea what the right move was, hit subscribe, because that paralysis isn't stupidity. It's what happens when nobody ever lines these things up next to each other and shows you the math. Let's fix that. I want you to meet Jordan. Jordan is not a real person, but Jordan's situation is. Jordan is 32, makes about $75,000 a year, has no high-interest debt except one credit card sitting at $8,000 with a 22% APR, has a 401k through work that the employer matches up to 3%, has a fully funded emergency fund, 3 months of expenses sitting in a regular savings account earning basically nothing. Every month, after taxes, rent, bills, and groceries, Jordan has exactly $1,000 left over. Jordan wants to do something smart with it. Today, we are going to follow that $1,000 into 7 different destinations and watch what happens, in real numbers, over 10, 20, and 30 years. By the end of this, Jordan is going to have a very clear answer. So are you. Let's start with the option that feels the safest. Destination 1, the high-yield savings account. As of recent years, the best rates have hovered somewhere between 4.5% and 5.5% annually. Genuinely good by historical standards, driven by the rate environment of the last few years. Jordan locks in 5% and automates the $1,000 transfer every month. Here's what that looks like. Year 10, approximately $155,000. Year 20, approximately $411,000. Year 30, approximately $836,000. On the surface, that looks incredible, and it would be if that 5% rate stayed forever. It won't. High-yield savings rates are variable. They follow the federal funds rate. When rates drop, and historically they always do, that 5% becomes 4%, then 3%, then 1.5%. The long-run realistic average for a high-yield savings account over 30 years is closer to 2.5% to 3%. At 2.5%, Jordan's 30-year number drops to approximately $500,000. Still not bad, but here's the other problem: inflation. The long-run average inflation rate in the United States is roughly 3% per year. If Jordan's savings account is earning 2.5% and inflation is running at 3%, Jordan is not saving money in any real sense. Jordan is losing purchasing power slowly in an account with a green checkmark and the word SMART in the name. The high-yield savings account is not a wealth-building vehicle. It is a parking lot. A good parking lot. Better than a regular savings account, better than a checking account, but a parking lot. It is where you keep money you need to access in the next 1 to 3 years. It is not where you put money you don't need for 30. Destination 2, the S&P 500 Index Fund. Jordan opens a brokerage account, or better yet, maxes out a Roth IRA first, and automates $1,000 a month into a basic S&P 500 index fund. No stock picking, no timing the market, no watching financial news. Just $1,000 a month into a fund that tracks the 500 largest companies in America. The S&P 500 has returned an average of roughly 10% per year since 1926. After inflation, that's closer to 7%. We'll use 10% for the nominal number. Year 10, approximately $204,000. Year 20, approximately $687,000. Year 30, approximately $1,974,000.
Let me say that last number out loud. $1,944,000. From $1,000 a month. From the most boring investment product in existence. Jordan did not beat the market. Jordan did not find the next NVIDIA at the right time. Jordan did not have a financial advisor with a secret strategy. Jordan just didn't touch it. Now, here's the part the industry doesn't advertise. Year 10 feels rough. Jordan's balance is $204,000, but Jordan contributed $120,000 of that herself. The growth is real, but it doesn't feel real yet. By year 20, compounding has added more than Jordan ever put in. By year 30, for every dollar Jordan contributed, the market returned roughly 6 more. The enemy of this destination is not the market. It is Jordan's own brain in year 4, when the balance looks flat and a friend mentions a crypto coin that's up 300% this month. We'll get to that destination. It's coming. Destination 3, paying off high-interest debt. This one doesn't feel like investing. It feels like giving money away. Jordan has $8,000 on a credit card at 22% APR. If Jordan pays the minimum every month, that $8,000 costs roughly $19,000 in total interest before it's paid off, and takes approximately 7 years. If Jordan redirects the $1,000 a month to that card instead, it's paid off in about 9 months. Then Jordan redirects the full $1,000 plus the minimum payment Jordan was already making into Destination 2. Here's what that actually means. Paying off a 22% APR credit card is the equivalent of getting a guaranteed 22% return on your money. There is no index fund on earth that offers a guaranteed 22% return. There is no savings account, there is no real estate deal, there is no investment vehicle of any kind that guarantees 22%. For Jordan specifically, with that card sitting at $8,000, Destination 3 is not the boring option. It is the highest guaranteed return available. The reason most people don't think of debt payoff as investing is because nobody gets a commission when you pay off your Visa. There is no product to sell, no account to open, no advisor fee to collect. So nobody calls it investing. But the math doesn't care what you call it. Get rid of the 22% hole first, then put the $1,000 into the index fund. That 9-month delay costs Jordan approximately $15,000 in long-run compounding. Carrying that card for 30 more years costs Jordan approximately $190,000 in interest. The math is not close. Destination 4, real estate. Specifically, house hacking. House hacking is the strategy of buying a small multi-unit property, a duplex, triplex, or fourplex, living in one unit and renting the others. The rental income offsets or eliminates your mortgage payment. Jordan's $1,000 a month for 12 months becomes $12,000. Not enough for a down payment alone, but the start of one. Real estate done well is a genuinely powerful wealth-building tool. It offers leverage. You can control a $400,000 asset with $40,000 down. It offers cash flow, rental income that arrives monthly. It offers appreciation, historical average of roughly 3% to 4% per year nationally, more in certain markets. It offers tax advantages, depreciation deductions that reduce taxable income. The problem is the word done well. Real estate done poorly is a second job you didn't ask for, a capital drain, and a lesson in why vacancy rates and maintenance costs exist. The honest version of the real estate conversation is this. For Jordan, at $75,000 a year in most major markets, the entry barrier is real. $1,000 a month is a savings vehicle toward real estate, not real estate itself. unless Jordan is in a lower cost of living market where the numbers actually pencil out. Real estate belongs on Jordan's map. It does not belong as the immediate answer to what to do with this month's $1,000. It belongs as a medium-term destination once the high-interest debt is gone and a down payment is accumulating alongside the index fund contributions.
Destination 5, a small business or side income. Here is the only destination on this list where $1,000 a month has no ceiling. Every other destination has a formula. Plug in the rate, the time horizon, the contribution, out comes a number. A business doesn't work that way. $1,000 a month into the right business, in the right hands, with the right timing, can return 10 times that within 3 years. It can also return nothing, ever, and then cost you 4 more years of your life to wind down. The research on small business survival is not encouraging. Roughly 20% of businesses fail in the first year. About 50% don't make it to year 5. But here is the number that never makes it into those headlines. The median net worth of a self-employed person in the United States is significantly higher than the median net worth of a salaried employee. Not because all businesses succeed, most don't. Because the ones that do compound differently than any financial product. A business that generates $8,000 a month in profit doesn't just give you $8,000 a month. It gives you an asset you can sell. A business earning $8,000 a month consistently might sell for 24 to 36 times monthly earnings. That's a $192,000 to $288,000 liquidity event sitting behind those monthly numbers. The $1,000 a month into a business is the highest risk destination on this list and the highest potential return. It belongs in the conversation, but only after Destination 3. And ideally running alongside Destination 2, not instead of it. Destination 6, whole life insurance. This is the destination where I need you to pay attention. Not because it's complicated, because it's not. Jordan walks into a meeting with a financial professional, sometimes called an advisor, sometimes called a wealth manager. And that professional recommends a whole life insurance policy. The pitch sounds like this: tax-advantaged growth, lifelong death benefit, cash value you can borrow against, protection plus investment in one product. It sounds like Destinations 1 and 2 combined, with a safety net attached. Here is what whole life insurance actually is for Jordan at 32. A $500,000 whole life policy will cost Jordan approximately $500 to $700 a month in premiums. A $500,000 whole life policy will cost Jordan approximately $500 to $700 a month in premiums. The same $500,000 death benefit in a 30-year term life policy costs Jordan approximately $30 to $40 a month. The difference, roughly $460 to $660 a month, is what's supposed to be building cash value inside the policy. But the internal rate of return on whole life cash value in the early years is frequently negative. The first-year commission for the agent selling Jordan that policy can run between 70% and 110% of Jordan's first year's premium. That is not a typo. The person recommending whole life insurance to Jordan may be collecting a commission equal to an entire year of Jordan's premiums before Jordan's cash value has grown a single dollar.
Jordan doesn't get told that number. Jordan gets a brochure with the words protection and growth on the cover and a handshake. For a small number of high net worth individuals using specific policy structures for estate planning, whole life has a legitimate use case. For Jordan, 32 years old, $75,000 salary, $8,000 in credit card debt, it is the most expensive way to feel financially responsible while building the least actual wealth. Buy the 30-year term policy for $35 a month. Put the other $965 into Destination 2. Run the math in 20 years. Come back and tell me if you wish you'd bought the whole life policy instead.
Destination 7, crypto and speculative assets. Jordan's friend texts Jordan about a coin. It's up 400% this year. There's a new one launching next month. The white paper looks serious. The Discord is active. Let me tell you what we actually know about speculative assets and retail investors.
A 2023 study found that roughly 73% of retail crypto investors have lost money overall. Not in one bad month, overall. The headline stories are the 1,000% returns. The actual data is the 73%. This doesn't mean crypto has no place in a portfolio. It means that crypto as a destination for $1,000 a month from a 32-year-old with credit card debt and no index fund contributions is not a wealth-building strategy.
It is a lottery ticket with better branding. If Jordan wants speculative exposure, and some people genuinely do, the number most commonly cited by fee-only financial planners is somewhere between 2% and 5% of investable assets. Not 100%, not the whole $1,000, not instead of the index fund. 2% to 5%. For Jordan, that's $20 to $50 a month after everything else is handled. The friend whose text started this whole thing is not running a portfolio. They're telling Jordan about their one win. The losses don't make it into the text thread. Now, zoom out. We've just walked Jordan's $1,000 into 7 different destinations. And here's the thing nobody says directly enough. The financial industry profits most when Jordan is confused. Confusion sells whole life policies. Confusion sells crypto platforms with 2% trading fees. Confusion sells actively managed mutual funds that charge 1.2% annually and underperform the index fund Jordan could have bought for 0.03%. Confusion is not an accident. It is a business model. So here is the actual framework, the unsexy version. Step 1, if Jordan has high interest debt, anything above 8%, that is the investment. Pay it off first. The guaranteed return on eliminating 22% APR debt beats every other option on this list. Step 2, capture the free money. If Jordan's employer matches 401k contributions up to 3%, Jordan puts in at least 3%. That match is a 100% instant return. There is nothing on this list that competes with that. Step 3, max the Roth IRA. In 2024, the limit is $7,000 a year. For Jordan, that's about $583 a month. Tax-free growth for decades. Put it in the index fund. Step 4. With whatever's left, keep contributing to the index fund in a regular brokerage account. Step 5. As net worth grows, layer in real estate when the numbers in your market actually work. Step 6. Keep speculative assets, crypto, individual stocks, that friend's Discord coin, at 2 to 5% of investable assets, not more. Step 7. Never buy a product from someone whose commission depends on your signature before you've run steps 1 through 6. That's the whole framework. It is boring. It is not going to get Jordan on a podcast. It is not going to generate a text message at 11 p.m. about a coin that's up 400%. It is going to make Jordan a millionaire by 62 from $1,000 a month and a willingness to be relentlessly unimpressive about it for 30 years. Here's the reframe that actually matters. The $1,000 sitting in Jordan's checking account is not a financial decision. It is a psychological one. Every destination on this list comes with a story. The high-yield savings account tells Jordan they're being responsible. The whole life policy tells Jordan they're being protected. The crypto Discord tells Jordan they're being smart. The index fund tells Jordan almost nothing, which is exactly why it works. It doesn't need a story because it doesn't need to convince you. It just needs time.